Make yourself at home.
Good morning, everybody. Well, actually, good evening to most of you. My name is Scott Matheson, live from Auckland, New Zealand, and welcome to this How to Move to New Zealand webinar. We've got lots of people on here today. This is our first webinar for the year, actually, so there's been a long break, and we thought that February, being the colder months in the Northern Hemisphere, would be a great time to talk to you about this fantastic opportunity. I've got two amazing and experienced speakers with me today, so I'd like to introduce you to them. Firstly, just north of Auckland is Monique Power. Monique, if you can say a few words and introduce yourself, be fantastic. And Paul Goddard, who's over on the other side of the world in Oxford in the UK. Paul.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Paul and I'm a licensed advisor. I've been doing that for about 15 years now, and lived in New Zealand for 17 years with my family, and currently back here in the UK helping, our offshore clients make the connection and make that move to New Zealand. So great to have you all on here.
Brilliant. Fantastic. And thank you everybody who's in the various locations around the world, and there are a lot of locations here at the moment: Ireland, UK, Netherlands, USA, Singapore, South Africa. So welcome to all of you. We really appreciate you taking the time in your day or evening to just get a snapshot or a very quick understanding of how to move to New Zealand. This webinar will only be 30 minutes. We like to keep it short so you can get on with your evening, but we'll pack it with information with the idea that you know where to take your next step, because there's a lot of information online. There's a lot of stories, and we just really want to help you condense and make your move quite linear and save you time, save you money, and absolutely ensure that you take the most of your opportunities. So we've been doing this for 25 years. Working In has been around since the late 90s. We love what we do, and we love helping people. We work with New Zealand employers and Australian employers, and really the whole idea is to ensure that you have a smooth move to New Zealand. So Monique will talk to you a little bit about what the next steps are once we get to that point. I'm going to cover off what we'll be looking at today. So very briefly, there's Paul, Monique, and myself. So what we'll cover off today, we'll look at why you should be using a licensed immigration advisor and why it's so important. This has really ramped up in the last year. Immigration New Zealand are very careful about this part of the compliance process. We'll look at the New Zealand Green List. So this is a very specific list that gives you pathways to residency. What that means, there's two separate lists. We'll also look at the 4 key steps to making the move. So we've chunked it down to make it simple. And this is a really, really well-trodden path. And we think it's the most simple and stress-free path. Remember, migration is potentially one of the most stressful things that you can do in your life. We want to take that away. Who we are, and who we can help and who we can't help, because we will be honest with you if we can't help you, and then your next step. So essentially, that's the main things that we'll be covering. I guess first off the bat is why we should use a licensed immigration advisor. Paul is a New Zealand licensed immigration advisor. They are licensed by the New Zealand government. How long have you been a license holder for, Paul?
Oh, since around 2012, I think, something like that.
So well over
Yeah.
12 years. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll bring up the slide for you, Paul, and you can just sort of go through what it means. Oops, sorry guys. Let's go to the next one. Why use a licensed immigration advisor? So what is the New Zealand Immigration Advisors Authority, Paul?
Yeah, so there's a body in New Zealand, called the New Zealand Advisor Authority, and they're there to basically monitor and regulate what advisors like us do as licensed advisors. So we have to abide by a very strict code of conduct. We have to renew our licenses every single year with cost, and continuous professional development built into that. And that's all there to protect you as people who are looking to make the move. So you definitely shouldn't be taking advice from people who aren't licensed, and it's illegal to do so unless they're exempt. And there's not many people that are exempt. And I'd even probably advise not doing that. But I think having that code of conduct, which means that we have to abide by it. Your funds go into a client fund as well, so they don't get drawn down instantly when you pay a fee to us as licensed advisors. Your fees go in a client fund, and we draw down from that as we do the work. And obviously, as a company working in, have more advisors than I think any other company in New Zealand. I think that's correct, and we lodge more visas than any other company. But we're very much focused on the people that we help. So even though we help a lot of people, we're still kind of like that bespoke boutique service as well. So we treat people as individuals, not as numbers, and that's important. But I think there's one key thing that isn't there on the slides as to why you should use a licensed advisor, and that comes into getting a job offer. Because if you consider doing your own visa and your own visa application, which is your choice, that's fine. But by doing your own visa application, you're asking an employer to trust that you know what you're doing with that visa application. And most employers won't trust that you know what you're doing, because employers in New Zealand have all been burnt by people whose visas get declined or take too long, or they don't fit the criteria. So do consider that, because by using a licensed advisor, you're asking the employer to trust a licensed advisor. And that's a much easier path forward for the employer. And that's how you get job offers.
Yeah, Paul, and I think that's really relevant in the last 2 years with the onset or the introduction of the AEWV, which stands for Accredited Employer Work Visa. And as of 2 years ago, any employer in New Zealand that wanted to employ somebody from offshore, a skilled migrant is the terminology, they had to be accredited. And so there's a whole new level of compliance for the employer. And if you are wanting to move to New Zealand and a job is required, then there's a two-party relationship here, isn't it, between the accredited employer and the person that's applying.
Absolutely. But the other important thing to note there is, just because an employer is accredited, it does not mean that that employer understands visas or how they work, because there's no requirement for the employer when they get accredited to understand or know how visas work. So what people watching this webinar should take into account, just because an employer is accredited does not mean that they're doing your visa for you, or can even advise you on how to do that visa. They still want certainty that the visa is going to be okay before they offer you a job.
Okay. So Monique, you talk to many people every day. What are the sort of the does it resonate with the key things that you get from people who you're talking to on a daily basis? What is the typically where are they in their journey, if you like?
Hi, sorry about that, guys. There's a slight technical issue there, but we're back, as I've been told. So to answer your question, Scott, I do talk to quite a wide range of people that are at the very early stages of migrating to New Zealand, sometimes 1, 2, or even 3 years away. And then there are people that say, oh, I want to be in New Zealand in about 3 months' time. They haven't even done their research. They're talking about, they're focusing on the job, too much on the job, and then they're going to talk about or think about visas. Some of them have got no idea about timelines or about costs, and they've done no research, no planning, no visa preparation, and that is key. It's all about the planning, which is so important. If you don't do that well, then it's very, very unlikely that you are going to be successful in your move to New Zealand. Something like immigrating to New Zealand, it's a major step, as Scott said earlier. It needs careful planning.
And a lot of the issues, we talk about the job, don't we? You need a job for a visa, and you need a visa. It's the catch-22, Paul. What happens if people apply for a job before they've done any of the pre-work, so to speak?
Oh, everything falls apart usually. It's like running before you can walk. If you apply for a job and you're not ready to get that visa and everything's not in place, then it's all going to fall apart pretty quickly, because everything's going to take too long. The employer's going to get fed up and realize you don't know what you're doing and pull the job offer usually. And we've seen this happen time and time again with people who talk to us and decide to do it on their own, and then the next thing we know, they're the guy's pulling the job offer, and they're back to square one. So you've got to get things in the right order.
Okay. Look, it looks as though we've still got some technical issues. Someone's just said that they couldn't hear Monique, but okay, if that's resolved, that's fantastic, brilliant. Okay, so I guess and a few people are asking, hey, is it job first, visa first? So we'll get to that. So let's just slow everything down, and we're going to take you through how best to do that. I think what Paul is saying is, if you apply for your job too soon, you're not ready, then employers are going to get frustrated, and there is a huge amount of work to do before you're ready to apply for a job, and that's really probably one of the biggest messages that we have today. I guess the good thing, though, about what's happened in New Zealand, which is beneficial, is that they've changed the pathways to residency, and there's now multiple ways that you can obtain residency. Well, there's three ways. Paul, do you just quickly want to run through those 3 ways, and then we'll bring up information about the green list?
Yeah. So the 3 ways that you can get residency now are through work to residence, which is basically where you get a job offer, work for 2 years, and then get residence. That's tier 2 on the green list. There's tier 1 on the green list, which is straight to residence, which is amazing, because it's exactly what it sounds like. It's get a job offer and be able to lodge your residence visa straight away once you've got the job offer. And that residence visa could be approved within a few months. It's taking a little bit longer at the moment, but it should get back down to within 3 months, hopefully, of lodging a visa, and that's residence. So for some people, that's residence before they even hop on a plane. And then there's the skilled migrant category, which used to be the only way to get residence through the job offer route. And the point system has changed in the skilled migrant category. The green list is a new thing that the government's brought in, tier 1, tier 2. These are all new changes. So a piece of advice when you're doing research around visas and using the internet and stuff, just remember there's a lot of information on the internet that refers to the old way of doing things. There's a lot of stuff with all these changes that have come into policy that isn't even on the internet. So, be very careful if you're just using the internet as your sole resource. But 3 pathways to residency now for skilled migrants with job offers. That's great, because there only used to be 2. There's now 3. And so it's really important to find out which one applies to you. And it could be that all 3 apply to you. And if that's the case, which one is the best way forward? It's really important that you know that.
Well, that's the time and money thing, isn't it, Paul? So we always discuss these 4 key steps to making the move. I'm going to bring those up, Paul. And if you could just run through them, it would be fantastic. So there's a nice picture of people having a picnic, classic Kiwi scene. Isn't it? Yeah. And we're at the end of summer now, so that's very typical. To be honest, that's not unusual scene at all. Okay, so preparing for the move. How do we roll this out, please?
Yeah, so breaking the move down into 4 steps is something that we've been helping people this way for years. And what's really interesting is it doesn't matter how much immigration policy changes, the 4 steps don't change. And we know this because we've been helping people move for nearly 20 years. And the first of those 4 steps is getting ready for the move. That sounds so obvious. I've got to get ready for the move. But what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean looking at pictures of New Zealand, watching Lord of the Rings, and then saying, that's it, I'm hopping on a plane, which is what most people do as their research for New Zealand, as we know. But, all joking aside, there's 3 key elements to being ready for the move. You've got to be information ready. And by that, I mean having personalized information that's about your move to New Zealand, not somebody else's move, and not just what the internet tells you. You need information about your move and how it affects you. You need to be document ready, which means having your paperwork ready to go, ideally before you start talking to employers. And you need to be able to prove to employers that you're fully prepared, your documents are ready to go, and if they offer you a job, everything's going to be okay. Because if an employer can't see that, why would they talk to you? Put yourself in the employer's shoes. And a little tip with this is, if you try and do those things on your own, you can't. You could tell an employer that you're ready to make the move. That's not proof. You need proof, and that's where we come in. Getting a job offer. This is the most common request we get, questions we get answered. It's a huge focus of what we do. So step 2 is getting the job offer. You've got to get ready first, then you go into getting the job offer. We call this part employment support, and it's really important that we let you know that the key word there is support. This is not us going out and getting you a job offer, right? That's because you are the experts in what you do, and you need to be talking to the employers. So with employment support, what we do is we give you the tools to be able to interact with those employers, removing the barriers and risks that stop the employers engaging with you. So it's very much a support, advice, guidance service for the people who are trying to get job offers in New Zealand. So if you're watching this now and you've been applying for jobs and kind of getting nowhere, this is exactly where this applies. If you know that you're skilled and you've got good skills and you're just frustrated because nothing's happening, well, the reason nothing is happening is because you're just firing off a CV to employers in New Zealand. That doesn't work. And it doesn't work because your CV doesn't tell the employer what they need to know. There's actually 4 key areas you can be working on to get a job offer. There's the online jobs, there's the hidden job market, there's recruitment agents, there's a trip to New Zealand. And you need a strategy around all 4 of those things, and it can chop and change. This is not easy. It's not easy when you're working with us, and it's almost impossible if you're doing it on your own. But you've got to improve your chances. You've got to put yourself in the best position, and you've got to get ahead of everyone else who's also trying to move to New Zealand, because you're in competition with New Zealanders. You're in competition with everybody around the world who's trying to move to New Zealand. And the way you get ahead of them is by doing more than they are, doing it better than they are, and removing the barriers that stop the employers engaging with you. I could talk about this for hours.
Paul, can I was just going to say, I'd like to jump in if I can.
Absolutely.
Just because, look, I am in New Zealand and we do talk to employers all the time. And I think one of the realities right now is that the employment market has softened quite. COVID, all employers had a demand for skilled people, and then after COVID, the doors kind of opened, and New Zealand welcomed a lot of new migrants. We're now in a sort of in a recessionary period. It's a little bit softer, and it's much more difficult to find jobs. And what Paul was saying is, there's not exactly the same intensity from the employers to find skilled workers. So if you're looking for a job locally in your own country, in the US or the UK, it's hard enough. But if you're looking for a job in New Zealand, you are competing with New Zealanders who are onshore, and you are competing with other people. So, we just believe that you have one shot at that to do it well. As soon as you've applied and you're not ready, or you're not in a position to move, or whatever that may be, or you're just sending your CV out, you're kind of burning your chances. So it's much better to hold on and get ready and get organized before you start that process. It makes logical sense, right? Yeah. But if you meet the requirements of the employer, you're overseas, they will give you a chance, most likely, so long as you're ready and organized. If you're not, then they need to fill a position. So timing's everything. I can't reiterate that enough. And so putting in place these processes are really important. So look, someone's asked what kind of support. Well, we can get into that. There is a huge amount of support, but I guess from my perspective, and I really want to reiterate this, and it's probably more and Monique's place to say that, but people, working in is going to get you a job. That never happens.
No.
No matter what, it's up to the individual to impress the employer, to interview, to be selected. So we can facilitate you, we can give you the tools, we can provide you support letters, we can introduce you to recruitment agencies, but please don't get into your head that we're going to find you a job. That is not reality, and it's not reality anywhere. You are the person that is responsible for finding that job, and it's hard. It is hard, and we recognize that, which is why we provide you with support.
There is one exception to the rule, and that is healthcare
particular point.
professionals.
Yeah,
I can't hit anyone.
But with the healthcare professionals, there's a lot of work for them to do, right?
Yeah, there is.
Sorry, I can't hear you again, Scott.
Yeah, that's all right, Monique. I can hear Scott. So yeah, with the healthcare professionals, again, even though we can place healthcare professionals, we do have our own healthcare recruitment team. They still have to be prepared. They still have to be ready. We still have to remove those barriers for the employers, and it's really important. And when you see an employment strategy that we can put together for people, which is, like I say, it's us supporting that person through and showing them how to do it, but they have to do it themselves. And you compare that with just firing off CVs online. There's a choice, and one is clearly a lot better than the other. And we've did, I don't know, thousands of visas last year. That's thousands of people who get job offers and make the move. So don't think that it's impossible. It's not impossible, but getting help and support around you is absolutely key to doing this. And the most common piece of feedback I think we get from employers, if there wasn't that kind of support that we provide, they would have probably just deleted the CV or ignored the application. We get that feedback all the time. Then we jump on to...
So Paul, the next part of the process is getting a visa. Yep.
Yeah, so getting a visa. Obviously, as I said before, there's lots of different types of visas. When it comes to residence and job offers, it tends to fall into three categories: straight to residence, work to residence, skilled migrant category. There's also the accredited employer work visa. So those 4 visas are the ones that most of you will be looking at. So when you first get in touch with us, we actually work out the best way forward for you, so you don't have to do that. Part of preparing you for the move will be getting you visa document ready based on the visa that you're going to be getting, because we've worked that out. So you're actually prepared before the job offer even comes through. That's really important, because then when the job offer comes through, we can actually do the visa and there's no shocks and surprises. And we check the job offer out. We make sure it's going to get you the visa that you need. You then accept the job offer. Your visa agent will prepare the application for you, do the application for you. We liaise with the immigration service on your behalf. We can liaise with the employer as well if needed. That gives everybody peace of mind, and then it frees you up to go into the final step, which is relocation. Where are you going to live? What about opening a bank account? What about shipping your goods over? What about a job for your partner if they haven't got a job? What about the kids and schools? Basically, you have access to us until you don't need us anymore. And that's how you get ready, get a job, get a visa, get on a plane. Those steps sound really simple. If it was that simple, New Zealand would have a population of 55 million people, not 5 million people. What we do is we break the move down into steps, and we minimize your risks and maximize your opportunities every step of the way. This isn't just about filling out forms. This is getting you from a Zoom call today to being settled in New Zealand and working with you through that process. And that process works whether you're a doctor, a nurse, an engineer, a plumber. It doesn't matter. If you're skilled and you need a job offer, the process is the same.
Okay, so Paul, who can we help? I'm just moving into wrap-up time because we're close to 30 minutes.
Yeah, so the basic requirements with Immigration New Zealand, if you want residence, you have to be 55 years or younger. So as soon as you turn 56, then you're over the cut-off age limit for residence. You have to be fit and healthy. So you've got to have, a good health. You have to have excellent English language ability. That is so important. Employers will not touch you if your English isn't good enough. And it will come across in the interview straight away. So make sure you've got excellent English language ability. Ideally ready to move within the next 12 months, because that's a good time frame. Any longer than that could be too far away. And also no character issues, so major fines or convictions, etc. And ideally, you'll be in a highly skilled occupation. So that's either going to be tier 1 or 2 green list, or even skilled migrant category, which doesn't necessarily have to be on the green list, but at least you've got the right skill to meet skilled migrant category points-based systems. So we can't help everyone. We are looking for highly skilled people. New Zealand is looking for highly skilled people. Now, don't assume that means you have to be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist. Highly skilled can be a plumber. It could be a truck driver. It could be, it's skills that New Zealand needs. But the government has very much moved in that direction and is moving further in that direction. All countries are moving in these directions now of focusing on highly skilled people that we need. So but if you're the right age,
Paul,
with the right
can I
skill,
just highly skilled has a lot of different meanings, and so understanding what that means is and I can ask Monique just to talk about the eligibility assessment and the visa part if Monique can be heard. But for example, truck drivers, for example, have a pathway to residency, and so do nurses, and so do doctors. So we need to be careful about what highly skilled means, because there's so many different categories at the moment. For example, panel beaters have a pathway to residency. That didn't exist till recently. It might not exist for a long time. So immigration is like a lung. It opens, it closes, doors open, doors close. So Monique, can you just take a step, because I think this is, in my mind, the most important part of the whole process, really.
Absolutely, Scott, and I hope everyone can hear me right now. But my visa path, what that is, it's actually your pathway to New Zealand. It is a visa eligibility assessment. That is not information that you can find on the internet, because it's not personal on the internet. This is a personalized, individual visa eligibility assessment. We need a little bit of information from you, preferably including your CVs or resumes. And based on that information, a very detailed report gets written for you. I see it like your blueprint on how to move to New Zealand. It's a step-by-step guide. We tell you what steps you need to take, what potential hurdles you need to overcome. We put that into a document for you, and we email it through to you. Now, this is basically to minimize all your risks, and this will tell you exactly what steps you need to take. Once you've got that report, we will actually follow up with another full 1-hour consultation. And that's where the magic happens, because we go through the report with you, make sure you understand it, make sure you're happy with the outcome. But then you've got a good 45 minutes to an hour to talk to an advisor about anything you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be visa related. Maybe you want to talk more about, maybe you've got children, you want to talk about education system, that we talk about timelines, we talk about the costs of immigration. I talk to a lot of people every day. They've got no idea about the costs of moving to New Zealand. We just want to make sure that no stone is left unturned for you, so that you can make an informed decision, because it is a massive decision. It's life-changing, and we want it to be as seamless as possible. And this report is such a vital part of this whole process.
Yeah, look, I think that sums it up really nicely, Monique. Yeah. And a lot of people are asking lots of personalized questions. Can my qualifications be transferred? Can I bring my children?
Absolutely.
All those things get answered in this report, because every situation is different and nobody's the same. Everybody's lives are different. Everybody's situation is different. And immigration in New Zealand is not a one-size-fits-all. Very, very important message. And so it's different for nurses compared to civil engineers. It's different for quantity surveyors as it is for IT professionals. So all these things need examining in a detailed way. And this is your insurance policy, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is. And also a lot of people think that, especially with couples, they've both got good skills, and that report will actually ascertain who we believe should be the primary applicant, who's got the best chances. Sometimes it could be either one of you. Sometimes it's one that really stands out. And sometimes it can be the person that you didn't think would be the primary applicant. So all that is in the report. And assessing qualifications as well. If they're not automatically recognised, then we show you how to get them recognised and where. That's also something that we do in those reports.
Yeah, I think
okay.
I think the really key way to look at the report is, if you're on this webinar now, you're obviously doing your research. You've joined. You've made that step and that commitment. What you actually need before you commit to the move is you need all the answers to all your questions, not somebody else's questions.
Gotcha.
And you need a clear way forward that's easy to understand. Because if you've got all the answers to your questions and you've got a clear way forward that's easy to understand that applies to you, you can then make decisions.
Yeah.
If you don't have those things, then all you're doing is spinning round and round in circles on the internet and going nowhere. So that's what My Visa Path does. It clears the way forward and it removes the risks and it puts you on track before you even commit to anything. And that's so essential and so valuable. You're right, Scott. It is one of the, if not the most important thing we do, because it's right at the start. If you get the start wrong, then everything else goes wrong.
Thanks, Paul. I couldn't have said that better. It's a really nice summary, and it's a really nice way to end this webinar. As you can tell, everybody, we've got a lot of passion about this. That's why we're 4 minutes over. We could keep talking, and my role is to try and moderate that. And I've actually allowed this to go a little bit longer. But look, please reach out. There's a link there just to do your free assessment. There is a huge amount of information that is in front of you, but we can help you with that, and we'd be happy to help you with that. Fill out the free form, see where that goes. Just take the first step, and step by step. It's a big process. So kia ora, thank you for joining us. Have a good evening, and hope to see you again soon. See you later. Bye-bye.
See you later.